James says, was it just me or did the outside run seem better? Do you think we should run outside more? I made a comment earlier about being careful about play selection with the outside run, obviously situationally. What did you think about the outside run today for Iowa?
I don't know how the numbers really shook out. I guarantee you with quality control that they have within the program, they're able to tell you the productivity behind each and every run play. It reminds me one time, my wife asked me, why do you keep running the ball up the middle? And I said, well, which play are you talking about? Because there are 3 different plays that run up the middle, and they all average better than 5 yards per attempt. So which one are you talking about? And so my point is, if a coach's wife feels that that's not good enough, then it's understandable that the fans might feel that way sometimes. But I don't really recall that we made that many yards to the outside. I think we made more toward the end of the game with wide runs, but maybe that's tied in again to a little bit of substitution on their part. I'm not really sure who was on the field for them at that moment. I just think across the board we need to be more productive. We need to open up bigger holes up front. Let's face it, Goodson's the same good back that ran for 100-yard games a year ago in any number of cases. I think he'll do it again next weekend. Who knows what he might run for next weekend. I'll be surprised if we don't run for a couple 100 yards at least next weekend. Who knows? But certainly it'll be an easier go against Kent State than it was against Indiana or specifically against Iowa State. Iowa State's run defense is good. I think they proved that today.
Roger says, great game. Don't want to diminish that at all, but like you guys, very concerned with the run game. Is it more O-line, Goodson, or Petras' lack of consistency? I think probably all those play into it. Don, your thoughts?
I think it's probably a little more the O-line than it is on Goodson. Any back will tell you, if you give me good running lanes, then I'm going to be able to make a lot more yardage than otherwise. Even great backs will tell you that they still need blocking to be able to really accomplish great things. So I don't think Goodson's running style is any less productive than it was a year ago. I just think we need better running lanes to work with. But I do think, again, those are some pretty inexperienced offensive linemen in some cases. And as you mentioned, one of our best offensive linemen is going to be back with us here in another week or two. And in the meantime, of course, those other players are getting more experience and becoming better players from one week to the next.
If you would like to ask Don a question, I'll say it again. Call us 860-499-3332. 860-499-3332. I do want to apologize for a few internet issues if my stream is kind of shaky this evening. We're trying to figure out the technical glitches here and make sure things run smoothly. But again, our lines are open. 860-499-3332. Charles says defense is elite. Jared, what are your thoughts about the offensive going forward? I guess this is a question for me. I'm okay with where things are at because you have 2 weeks against Kent State and Colorado State. I mean, obviously you're going to have opportunities to, I think, shore up some things when Kyler Schott comes back along the offensive line, as we talked about at length. And the good news is they seem healthy. I mean, they're not losing guys throughout these games, Don.
Yeah, that's a very good point. To my knowledge, we made it through the game pretty much unscathed today.
All right, let's slide down got a Buckeye fan on here. Wish I could say the same about my Buckeyes. I think we have the personnel, but the scheme is terrible. Do you have anything to say to comfort Buckeye fans who are mourning the home loss to Oregon, which shocked me?
Yeah, I assume he's talking about the defensive scheme at that point. They still, although it's so unusual to see an Ohio State team that doesn't appear to have much confidence in their run game. Now, maybe it's simply a case of them feeling so good about their passing game. They have, imagine this, Corey, they had 3 receivers today that were all over 100 yards receiving. That's pretty amazing. But the downside, of course, is they still got outgained. And I don't know what they ran for, but I'm pretty sure it was less than 100 yards. But their problems really primarily are on defense. You got to stop people. You got to at least slow them down. I was watching Army and Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky had a really good passing game today too, but they couldn't stop Army's option offense, and in the end, Army still beat them. So the pressure's on when you have a suspect defense offensively, you feel like you have to go out and score with every possession. And obviously, if you have an off day and you turn the ball over 2 or 3 times, you got no chance. So that's kind of where Ohio State is right now. They have to find a way to be more efficient on defense because they're simply giving up points like Ohio State fans aren't used to.
Michael Wheatley says, let's go Maryland. I guess we got a Terrapin fan here, and obviously Iowa fans. This is the next Big Ten opponent for Iowa. Let's remember, it's a Friday game coming up in a few weeks against the Terrapins. So, of course, Iowa's got some business to take care of first, but Maryland right around the corner. Cop, I don't want to butcher your name, Cop Pierfy says the problem is Iowa coaches always held back their aggressive play calling. I wish the Hawkeyes just breathe the crap out of the Cyclones. Not sure exactly what he means there, but I think wishing that Iowa could be a little bit more aggressive, but you can't argue with the result.
Yeah, exactly. I know that Kirk Herbstreit talked about it today. He made the comment that as he sees it, more teams going forward are maybe adopting the Iowa philosophy on defense. With all these spread offenses, they like to get you spread out, and then if you're playing man coverage, of course, they just simply manage to match their really, really productive receiver versus your lesser defender. Now you got problems. The beauty of zone defense is that you keep the ball in front of you. You eliminate all kinds of big plays. You're more likely to get interceptions if you got all the eyeballs on the quarterback when he's throwing the ball. And of course, you still have a chance to get good pressure with your front without having to bring 5 or 6 rushers. Even with 4 rushers today, we were causing problems because it wasn't always obvious the way those 4 rushers are going to rush. Lots of twist stunts up front. In some cases, they would slant 3 defensive down linemen one way and then loop another guy around to free up certain rushers and of course, to create some unusual blocking requirements that the offensive line must find a way to deal with. And if you have good coverage in the back end, now you're forcing the quarterback to hold the ball longer. Your pass rushers have more time to get to the quarterback. And sometimes we refer to that, of course, as a coverage sack. If you force the quarterback to hold the ball a long time and the pass rusher eventually gets there, it still counts as a sack. We don't really care if it happened in 2.5 or 4.0. Doesn't matter as long as we get there.
All right, let's slide down the list here. We're kind of behind on this. I want to catch up on the chats. And Pro Player 2000, Iowa could win the Natty with that defense. Boy, we fans like to jump to large conclusions, Don, but I guess it's okay to do that week 2, and you got a couple games ahead that are probably very, very, very winnable.
Yeah, I would tell Pro Player 2000, I don't think anybody can win the national title just with their defense. It requires offense and kicking also. So that's one component, yes, and that's an important component, but that's nearly not the only requirement to win a national title is to play great defense.
Says can't sleep on Kent State. They are not that bad. If anybody knows Kent State, you know Kent State because of your research. Do you agree with this assessment?
Well, the thing I noticed a year ago within the MAC, they won 3 out of 4 MAC games. They were pretty dominant in 2 of them. The third game was against Eastern Michigan. Eastern Michigan won their fair share of parameters, but Kent State had an edge, and the game was close, as you would expect it to be. Buffalo a year ago ran the ball like crazy against them. Of course, Buffalo's got a running back that might have led the nation in rushing. He was certainly among the leaders.
Yeah, he's
an outstanding back. I think he's gone now, I believe. I don't know what happened today with Nebraska and UB, come to think of it. Any idea?
It's an update. We can get that here in a second, but I have been so locked into this game, Don. I watched a little bit of the Ohio State-Oregon game, but other than that, it's been all Cyhawk.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and that's too bad for me because Buffalo's coach is an old friend of mine. We actually coached together at Buffalo, and he's an outstanding young coach. This is his first head coaching job, and I wish him well. I don't know how he held up over in Lincoln, but knowing the Buffalo tradition, they probably gave him a really good game. If, for all I know, they might have beaten him. I doubt it, but they might have. Who knows? Lost my train of thought, Corey. I'm sorry. What else comes to mind?
Appreciate this comment from Mart 728. Felt like Petras passes showed more touch than in any game in the past. I've said that. I'm not saying he's there, but I'm seeing more touch. He still
I could say that
has
that's
the tendency to
true for
rifle
sure
things.
those last three
Compared to what we
quarters. The first quarter, I thought it looked like the old version of Spencer too much. Like he was pressing a little bit. The ball was thrown with too much velocity at times. But I think he really settled down. And in my mind, you did see an improved Spencer Petras the last three quarters.
We do have a call here. Were you done? Thank you for calling Iowa post game at the Voice of College Football. Who do we have on the line?
Vincent.
You say Denson or Benson? I'm sorry.
Vincent.
Oh, Vincent. I got him wrong. I was thinking Seth Benson. Vincent, what you got for Coach?
One thing first. I don't want to or kudos to the Iowa D. They look fantastic, and I think Phil Parker doesn't get enough credit as far as a D coordinator. I don't want to bring too much attention to him because I don't want him to get lured away from Iowa. But my question is, I noticed with a lot of the third long plays, we're not really going to a quicker read or a quicker pass. Is anybody else seeing that, or is that just me as a fan?
I can comment, Corey, if you like.
Yeah, go ahead, Don.
The one thing that did come to mind, I'm really thinking about those sacks when we were in field goal range. It looked like on those particular plays, now maybe we were third and long in every case. I think in general we were 3rd and 7 or more. Maybe it's 3rd and 10 one time, 3rd and 7 the next. I can't recall the exact down and distance, but for whatever reason, it seemed like Petras held the ball for a while without any idea of where he wanted to go with it. And by then, of course, the pass rush was a threat to him. If he got a little bit of push inside, if he has a little push inside, he tends to try to escape to the outside. And of course, that puts a tackle in a horrible position because that contained rusher is up the field. The tackle thinks he's doing a good job, and all of a sudden, you've changed everything when you decided to try to escape outside. And even though he was blocking the guy peels off of the block, of course, to be able to rein in Spencer. So Spencer's just got to learn to step up in the pocket, maybe slide left and right. I used to say this to the quarterbacks. Good quarterbacks, they see the field and they feel the rush. And I used to have a drill that was set up so that they could I forced them to keep their eyes downfield. And the point is, even in your peripheral vision, you can still see maybe more than what you realize. And I think with practice, you get better and better at it. But the bottom line, you need to see the field and feel the rush. If your eyes are always down into the pocket, looking at those pass rushers, obviously you can't find receivers downfield if that's the case. Here was one good sign. It was on an especially good throw. Spencer took a hard hit right after the ball was released. It was a good throw in spite of the pressure. The guy freed up inside and hit Spencer with good force. And Spencer, he just shook it off. It didn't seem to affect his next throw or the one after that. So that's a good sign that he took that hard hit. It was a pretty hard hit. And I'm sure he realized, well, I don't really like it. I mean, I've never coached a quarterback yet that liked to be hit, but it is part of the game. Once you understand that it's part of the game, then it's a little bit easier to deal with it. So the key for any young quarterback is eventually to get to the point where you can see the field and feel the rush. You're not looking at the pass rush, you simply sense it. And that does take a little bit of time to acquire that skill.
Well, what it seems like, or what I think I'm seeing is for Iowa on 3rd and long, we're almost a tad bit predictable. Like we're not going to a shorter, quicker throw or a quicker read. Like we're almost looking for something longer downfield to try to gain that chunk yardage. And I think for defenses, it's almost like they know what to expect. So they're kind of sending, a linebacker or somebody else, to the line of scrimmage, and we're getting those sacks. And I couldn't tell if it's just me looking at it that way or if it's other fans.
I will say this. I will say this as an old play caller. That idea that you always have to throw the ball beyond the first down marker, that's nice if you can find routes that are going to get that done for you. But the truth of it is, if you throw the ball short of the first down marker and you throw it with good accuracy and the receiver has a chance to run out after the catch, oftentimes you can, even if it's 3rd and 10, you can make a 5-yard throw as long as you're able to lead him and give him a chance to catch the ball and accelerate out of that catch. In so many cases, he's still going to be able to make that first down yardage. That's kind of what you're talking about, especially when you're protecting a 17-point lead or a 14-point lead, whatever the case might be. If you're playing from in front, if you've got a lead and you're already in field goal range, well, there's a chance, of course, if 3rd and 10 turns into 4th and 2, maybe you do decide to go for it. You threw the ball short of the marker. Even if you gain 8 yards and you decide to kick, you're obviously, it's much more of a chip shot than it was because you just gained 8 yards in field position. So there's nothing wrong, especially when you're protecting a lead, with throwing the ball short of the marker. That's especially true if these are routes that give a guy a chance to run out after the catch. By that, I mean what we call drive routes. Some people call them under routes, where you're running across the formation. And maybe if it's against zone, of course, you have to understand where to gear down and be open. If it's against man, of course, you don't slow down and you expect the ball way out in front because there's a guy that's in hot pursuit right there on your backside. But a better example would be slant routes. I love slant routes, or bang routes, as we call them, deeper routes. They're just extended slant routes. If you can hit those with the receiver in full stride, now maybe it's only a 6-yard throw, but it gives him a chance to run for another 10. And now you convert, even though it was 3rd and 10, you convert with a 6-yard pass that gives the receiver a chance to run after the catch. Hope that helps. I'm kind of supporting what you're saying. You don't have to always throw the ball beyond the chains. No, but if you throw it short, you better give the guy a chance to run for the additional yardage.
Yeah, we've got some guys that have speed and have some quickness. Now, granted, they may not be your 4- and 5-star recruits, but we have guys that are good, solid football players. Give them a chance, give them an opportunity, and get it to them quick. I won't take too much of your guys' time. Again, kudos to Phil Parker and what he's done with the defense. I think he's done an excellent job, especially breaking in new defensive line starters. We look fantastic, and I couldn't agree with you guys more. I think as Spencer keeps going, he's going to keep improving. Same thing with the offensive line. I think they are going to improve, and time will tell where it takes us. So, guys, I appreciate the call.
We appreciate your call, Vincent. Thanks for calling.
Another possibility, Corey, that comes to mind, and if you think about it, it makes sense. 3rd and long, of course, the defensive linemen are thinking about heating up the quarterback so you get a strong pass rush. And if it happens to be against zone coverage, that's another good time, of course, to think screen pass. I think we only threw 1 screen today. I think we only threw 1 last week too. So those are plays you may see more of in the future. It's certainly not that we don't know how to run them. We've had some good screen passes in the past, and I'm sure we'll have some in the weeks ahead.
I am trying to get through all the questions, and Coach promised us an hour of his time. Don, are you comfortable hanging out with us a little longer, given the fact that this is a Cyhawk victory?
Sure.
Okay. All right. We got a couple
more
more
questions.
questions.
Deserve that.
All right. We got a question from our chat room, Mark728. What is the upside on Petras? You want to answer that, Don?
Well, he's got a good, strong arm. If he has to throw the ball into a really tight window, and there are times when you have to do that. The most obvious example would be maybe we're trying to go for a game-winning touchdown. It's 4th down. Obviously, you can't take a sack. So if your only option downfield is a tight window, then you got to have the arm strength to be able to fit it in there. There was one time today where he threw the ball with a lot of velocity. It was into a pretty tight window. That's why he really gunned the ball. I believe it was Laporta, I think. It was a difficult chance.
3rd down.
I don't know if it was,
3rd down and long.
Was it broken up or was it dropped? I don't know. Coverage was close by. I'm not sure. You'd have to go back and look at it to assign more blame to one player or the other, or more credit, I guess, to the defender. Maybe you can blame Laporta too. But it was a tough chance because it was a fastball. It came in with a lot of pace. And, of course, Laporta's got good hands. But even guys with great hands will tell you it's a little easier to catch a 95-mile-an-hour. A Major League Baseball catcher will tell you maybe it's a little easier to catch a 95-mile fastball than a 100-mile-per-hour fastball. So the ball's getting there a little quicker than what you're comfortable with. And obviously you got to be able to cushion that throw when it does hit your hands. And a defender's always nearby to jostle you around and make it more difficult to contain it also.
And again, this may be just me building up the hype, but in answer to that question from Mart 728, again, I know it's one throw. The throw to Charlie Jones in the end zone to me looked like an NFL quarterback. That one throw, and I'm not, again, you got to play a complete game. I get it, but that was a really, really nice throw. And you're right, Don. He's got a huge arm, and as he gets more comfortable, I believe his upside is very high. Now, will he meet that? Of course, that's yet to be determined. Yakov 22 here, Don says, Iowa appears to be the best team in the Big Ten. And I don't believe Yakov 22, he is very active on Mark Rogers' main channel. I don't believe he is a homer. I don't think he's an Iowa fan. I could be wrong on that. If I'm wrong, Yakov 22, I apologize. But that is an unbiased comment from a college football lover.
Well, I would simply say we have a chance to become that best team in the Big Ten. I don't think there's any reason to give anyone credit for being the best this time of the year because it's going to be proven over the next couple of months. So we have a lot of time to sell that idea that we're the best team in the Big Ten. That's going to require some work on our part. And let's face it, there are a lot of other people that are aspiring to get that same thing done. Right now, I'll give you an example. Right now, if you're a Purdue fan, you're probably feeling pretty good about Purdue football. Last time I checked, I believe they are 2-0. I think they won convincingly today, but that's not saying much because UConn's in a shambles right now. But let's face it, Purdue does play us well. You know, Jeff Brom is an outstanding offensive coach. I'm sure if we ask Phil Parker which offensive coaches does he respect the most in the Big Ten for how well they do their job, I'm pretty sure he would give high marks to Jeff Brom at Purdue. So that's one game that's going to be difficult. There are a number of others. Maryland scares me because they have so much big play potential, so much home run potential. They don't sustain drives maybe, but they just beat you with big plays. Now that's our strength, of course, is defending big plays or guarding against big plays. But it's still a possibility that they'll be able to hit some on us. Let's face it, today I thought we were going to be up 14-3 at the half, and now all of a sudden one big play cost us I don't know how many yards. It must have been a 40, 50-yard play, and it all started with our backside corner losing position on the ball. The ball broke all the way across the field, and it was a race to the pylon. And thankfully, number 33 was there to bump him out of bounds, but it didn't matter. The next play was a 4-yard touchdown, so we still gave up the points. I'm not going to take away from Riley's effort on that play. Riley was a little bit out of position. That's why it turned into such a long gainer. But I give him credit for really, really good effort just to be able to prevent the touchdown on that very play.
Right.
And the thing we know, you have to sell out on that play, and maybe they're going to score the next play. We'll never know until we stop them on the previous play. So at least we forced them to snap the ball one more time. They were able to score, but the fact that Riley hustled and got him out of bounds short of the goal line gave us a chance to prevent that touchdown at the end of the half. We didn't get it done on the next snap. You can give good credit to Iowa State for knocking the ball in. I believe that was Breece Hall that scored on that play. But at least we had a chance to prevent that last second touchdown in the first half.